Hello everyone and welcome back to Call Sign Charlie Models. Time for part 4 of the Academy 132nd F-16I Sufa, and it's time for the 3 P's: putty, prime, and paint. So we're going to be taking care of all 3 of those on this part of the build and getting all that done, and then after that for part 5 we're going to start on the decals. So just moving along, I'm going to be using 3 different types of putty for this. I'm going to start off with the perfect plastic putty right here. This is a nice putty because it is a water base, so you rub it into the areas that you need to fill, and then after you can either do it wet or dry. You just take a wet Q-tip to it and then rub off the excess there, and then you have the what you want left in the seam right there. So that will be done on like the wing roots or anywhere that there's a very tight area to get into. Then also I'll be using the Tamiya Basic Putty White right here, and then possibly I do like this Bondo glazing spot putty as well. So I'm going to get in here, I'm going to take care of all this, I'm going to spread this putty around, get that done along the wing roots, and then I do have a little bit on the nose up here. I think I might use either the Tamiya putty or something like that because there is a little step in there, but on here I'm going to be using the perfect putty for all that area. And then again on the around some of these vents from where I kind of messed up the sanding job, I'm going to be using perfect putty on those areas as well to get a good connection point on the actual model. So I'm going to get off camera, I'm going to spread all that in, and then when I start taking the basic putty off, I'll do a little bit on the camera with that part. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so I let the putty dry for a little bit, and I've wiped off a little bit of it, and now I am going to finish off. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come across this area right here with a wet Q-tip, and it's going to fill in the seams. I'm still going to need to sand down right in here because there is that step, but on this area there's a gap, and as I'm doing this you'll be able to see where the putty is left versus where it was, and you can see now that line is going to be nice and smooth, no issues with that on that part right there. So that one's done. I'll just have to do a little bit more cleanup on it, do a couple more passes with the Q-tip just to make sure that there's no residue left, so that way when I paint it, it has, and I mask it off, it has a good base to go off of. So again, gonna wet, and we're gonna go over these wing roots real quick because these are the big ones right here, and just again with this just going right along. And you don't have to worry about anything because the parts that you want to stick it in, it will stay in right there, and no issues with any of that, and it's going to come out absolutely lovely. Now I do want a little bit of a panel line here for when the wings connect to the fuselage, because it isn't exactly one piece right there. So there is going to be a little bit of shrinkage, and there is still going to be a seam line there, but it's not going to be as pronounced as what it was before without this putty. You'll see here in a second. I gotta re-glue that because that's gotten pretty weak. Yeah, so you will go through a lot of Q-tips doing this though. And then what I'll do is once I do all the cleanup and everything, and I'll go back through with the pin vise, and I'll go through these panel lines where there's dots of putty in there. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but and I'll basically rescribe those and get all that residual putty out of there. So I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to do the rest of these. I also have some on the fuel tanks right here from Kopecky. Just a quick touch up on that area, and then this part will be done. I still have some sanding to do right on the nose, and we'll take a look on what else needs to be sanded, but it doesn't look like there's going to be much left to do. So I'll be back in 1 second. Hello everyone, and the build portion of this and it is done, and this is ready for primer. I'm debating on if I'm going to do the primer tonight or just wait till tomorrow morning and hit it up then, but I got it cleaned up pretty well. I might give it another wipe down real quick because there are some areas, and if it's any dust on here, I have a feeling that when I'm masking off the camouflage, it's going to pull the paint right up. So it is looking very nice all along here. I got the wheel wells all masked up and ready to go, along with the intake as well, which has been masked from the very beginning. And then moving on, I got to make sure that this masking tape, especially when I'm painting, does not come up like it is tending to do. But again, some very nice detail on here. I'll do another wipe down, and I got everything separated and ready to go. So I'll probably get the primer on tonight. Depends on how long the unboxing that I did earlier takes to upload. So I'll be back when the primer is all on and I start doing my pre-shading, getting that all done. And once the pre-shading is done, I'll spray the first coat, which will be the silk gray on the bottom and then on a lot of the underside stuff as well. So I'll be back in 1 second when everything is primed. Alright, we're back and we got everything primed up, ready to go for paint. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the underside with the MRP Silk Gray, which is MRP Silk Gray RAL 7044 for the Israeli Air Force, MRP number 283 right in here, and that will go all along the underside here and then up along this sidewall right here. Now one thing is, I'm kind of wishing that I would have left off the horizontal stabilizers and elevators off, because that would make painting this area a whole lot easier. But I'm just gonna have to work around that, especially when I start masking that off. I'll just use some very thin tape to get that masked off. But other than that, everything is looking good from the putty standpoint. So we're gonna get the silk gray done on the bottom of the fuselage, the fuel tanks. We got 3 fuel tanks right here, and then all the landing gear, doors, and the pylons, and get all those done. Then after that, we'll come in and mask off the underside. And then for the top side, I'm going to be using the mask from DN Models to get this all painted up. So this is going to be a very nice mask set to go, and make sure I get all the camo patterns correct on this, so we have no issues with any of that. And also it comes with the mask for the Stars of David on there. So, and going by this paint call out versus the paint call out in the kit. So in the paint call out in the kit, it shows that one side of the vent is aluminum. I'll have to do some searches to see if I can find some pictures with that actually how it is. So I'm going to get off of here. We're going to get the underside painted and ready to go. The good thing about the MRP paints is they dry really quickly, so I don't have to wait too long to start masking on those. So I'll be back in 1 second when it's all painted on the underside. Alright, so I'm back and I got the underside painted with the silk gray, and it took a lot of silk gray to get this done. It took about 3/4 of the bottle to get it all painted up, probably because of the black primer and the very light paint. So I was kind of expecting it, but then again not expecting it to take 3/4 of the bottle. So up next I got to mask this off, and then while I was going through my paint to pick it out, had this bottle right here, and I was like, all right, I have enough to start. And when I picked it up, I noticed it was really light, and I have probably enough of this to get the one wing done. So I have this on order, and hopefully it'll be in a couple days, because other than that, I want to start off with this color, the sand. I want to go from light to dark on this, and then so once that comes in, I can actually get started on the paint job. But until then, the actual paint job on the fuselage is at a standstill. So, and then also the medium gray is finally back in stock, so I can get the fuel tanks and start painting on the armament. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to start painting the landing gear. I can get the base coat of the bombs painted, but I gotta wait until that medium gray comes in to get the fins painted around the GBUs, and also the tail section for the GBU as well. But I can get like the lightning pod painted with the gunship gray, and get that painted, and a few other parts painted with the gunship gray, and then white for the landing gear. So I'm gonna get off of here. I finished painting all the pylons as well. Those are all done. So those are actually ready for clear coat, because there's no other painting on that. And then, so yeah, I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to paint what I can, and then this might be at a standstill for a few days. So I'll get back to you when I get all the landing gear stuff painted up, and then hopefully in the next couple days we have the sand and medium gray, so we can really start tackling this thing. Right? Alright, so we got started on the paint. I got the sand base color done, and then went in with the pale green on this. Now, I said I was going to be using the DN Models mask. I tried using it, and they do not fit. They might fit if you left all of the lumps and bumps off of it, but they do not fit. Either because of shrinkage with the vinyl that they used. As you can see right here, there's actually quite a bit of shrinkage between where it's cut and where it's supposed to be, or where it is and where it was cut. So that's a lot of shrinkage. It's probably a good maybe 2 millimeters roughly in some spots. So these do not fit, and I would not either they fix the issue, or I wouldn't spend my money on it. So went on and I just used my Harder Steenbeck airbrush, and I'm doing it freehand, and so far it's coming out all right. And tomorrow I'm going to be adding the brown to it, so that's really going to make all these two colors definitely stand out. Just like every other camouflage job, it just looks weird up until you get the third color on it. For some reason, it must be something to do with the eye. But yeah, just as of right now, it kind of looks weird. But once I get the brown on, which will be tomorrow, it should start looking the part. And with the canopy, like I said, if you're just started watching this, don't worry about the canopy. I have another canopy right here that is actually going to go on this, but this was just a spare canopy that I am using to mask the cockpit area instead of having to use tape and foam and all that fun stuff to get on. So just wanted to give you an update on what's going on, and like I said, tomorrow I'll be getting the brown on, so we'll get that main camouflage done, and probably on Sunday I'll start doing the medium gray bits, like the nose, some of the antenna and such that go on here. And then after that, we got some more detail painting to go on, and a lot of detail painting to go on with all the other parts with the ammunition or ordnance and armament missiles and such to go onto this. So still got a little bit of a ways to go, but it's actually starting to come together. And like I said, once I get that brown on, it's really going to start looking the part. So I will be back for you in 1 second. For me, it'll be tomorrow morning. So I will see you in 1 second. Okay, so I just finished the main camouflage on this using the MRP paints. Silk gray for the bottom, sand for the top, and pale green, and also Southeast Asia brown for the brown on here, and it's looking pretty nice. I did have to freehand the airbrushing because the paint mask that came with the DN models did not fit, and then all my my masking tape, I didn't have enough of the pinstriping tape from Tamiya to do it, and then the other tapes I had that I thought I was going to be able to use, like this tape, or where did I put it, this tape, just would not work. So I ended up just doing freehand, and I think with the harder Steenbeck it did come out very nice. I did have a couple overspray areas to touch up, but that worked out in the end and came out very nice. So up next, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be masking off the gray areas, so the nose, the tips of these sensors on the nose, and then this bulge right here. I think that's it for the medium gray on the fuselage. Then I also have the fuel tanks, the missiles, and the outer shell for the GPUs to go with the medium gray as well. So I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to get all that masked up and ready to go. And then when all of that is done, I'll be back on here to give you a little update. Alright, so we got the gray done on the nose. Nose is looking quite nice. And then the front end of the sensors on the nose, also got those painted with the MRP 38 light ghost gray, along with the sensors and antennas along here. So up next, what I got to do is, there are a few sensors like this one and these two back here that are white tips. So I'm going to mask those off and get those all painted white. Then after that, I'm going to paint these little triangles in the front sensors, the silk gray that's on the bottom of the fuselage. Then after that, I'm going to paint the red flare and chaff dispensers, and that will be almost done with the fuselage. The only thing after that I have to do, or need to do, is I'm going to use the stencils from DN models to actually paint the stars onto the wings. So, and then after that, I got a few other things to do airbrush wise for the armament and stuff, but we got the GBUs all done, as you can see here, using the Flying Leathernecks mask that comes with the bomb, but it absolutely looks great when it's all done. I did have a little bit of a shrinkage issue with the vinyl that is used, but I just kind of cut it in half and then made it work, and then put some extra tape in there to fill that up. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get the white, and I'm going to get the white and all the other touch up fine painting done before I come back. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, and I'm back, and I got all of the paint done on the Sufa. All the airbrushing and the detail painting on all the parts. All of that is done. I also removed the masking for the majority of it. I'm going to leave the canopy, the spare canopy, on until the very end. That's going to be basically the last piece to get popped off when I replace it with the actual canopy. But all in all, I think it's looking pretty decent. I'm so about the paint job with the freehand on the camo, but I think it looks alright. I think I would have liked it better if it would have had some harder demarcation lines, but I think it will do okay, especially once I get the clear coats and weathering and all the decals on. I think that's going to help it blend in a little bit better. But yep, so got all that done. The mask on the bottom side is all removed, so it can go off of that and get all that weathering, get some streaking done in there after the decals. But yeah, so up next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with some clear coat and then let that set overnight, and then tomorrow I'm going to start hitting it up with the decals. So I will see you then, and back in a second. Alright, we're back, and all of the painting, the 3 P's for this build are all done. So we got the putty done, the primer done, and the paint done. And then I put a final clear coat over everything to protect it, and also ready for the decals, which will be in part 5 of this build. So this is the end of part 4, and I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this and going along. The next part, I did figure out how to do some speeding up on the filming or on the playback, so I'll have more actual decaling stuff on that video. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in a little bit. Until next time, stay frosty, my friends.